Joining us now in studio, Texans General Manager Nick Caserio. Nick, welcome. It's the bye. So here we are. You said in your press conference you earned the record you have. It's almost like the old Parcells thing. You are what your record says you are. You've been right there in all these games. It seems like in the Jacksonville game, you did make those plays in the fourth quarter that you really coveted.
Yeah, in the end, we were able to finish the game. So 6-6 there, kind of going into the fourth quarter. We're able to get the ball down near the goal line. And then able to put the ball in the end zone, and then we're able to get some stops there at the end of the game to come out with a win. So it was a good team effort. Did enough offensively. I would say defensively, which I would say for the most part we've been pretty good in the red area all year. When you go back and look at and it's about points. So we're able to keep them out of the red area. I think our red area defense, we've done top 10 or 15 in the league, whatever it is. So being able to keep them out of the end zone, be able to get some stops, get off the field, either force a field goal or force some other situation. And then made some plays in the kicking game. I'd say be able to control field position. So that was a game where hidden yards sort of showed up and mattered, and then resulted in a victory. So it's always good to win. It's hard to win in this league, but I think everybody was excited for the opportunity to win, and we earned the victory. Now we got to transition and try to continue to improve as a team, and then get ready for the next challenge in front of us, which will be the Raiders here in a couple of weeks.
Nick, was there any secret sauce in the fourth quarter? There have been so many close games. I mean, you had a lead against the Colts, was tied going into the fourth quarter against the Broncos. Bears, same thing, tied in third. Chargers, you got it back within 3, but this one you push over the top. Was there any sort of secret sauce in the fourth quarter to make sure you got that?
Yeah, not necessarily. I think it was just we had good execution as a team, so we were able to execute. I forget how many plays on that particular drive where we scored. I mean, everybody wants to talk about Damian's run, which was a big part of that drive, but we were able to execute on third down. I mean, Walker had the personal foul penalty, so in the end that worked to our advantage. But it just goes to show you, like a play like that, just playing smart situational football and not putting your team in a position where it could sustain a drive. So we got the penalty and then kept the drive moving, and then get the ball down near the goal line and be able to finish the drive. So I'd say in the end, nothing magical, but other than we were able to execute enough plays to get the ball into the end zone.
Well, the 3rd and 10 conversion was as big as anything, right? Because if you don't make that, it's decision time. How are you going to handle the situation? And Akins with the catch, it extended for the marker, the needed yardage. What about him, the tight end group, and that play in particular? I know a double-edged question, but we've got time.
Yeah, no, it was it was a bang play there. So tight throw, tight coverage, and after the catch, there was still a yard or two that we had a gain to get the sticks, and Ake was able to do that. So Ake's taken advantage of his opportunities here in the passing game. I think he only played 10 plays, but had 2 conversions on third down.
Wow.
Mason played, 25 snaps, whatever it was. And OJ, he's played a lot of snaps here since, we signed him there at the beginning of the year. So, I mean, that group collectively has worked and, done enough good things here to kind of help us at different points, all 3 of them. And then you throw Troy in there, kind of fullback, tight end, or that group. I think Troy played the most snaps in this game that he had, all year. So, in the end, it's a credit to the players, it's a credit to the coaches for being able to go out there, execute their job, have enough confidence to put those players in a position to help our team.
You've mentioned this a few times, Nick, to us, because we always ask you about the practice squad and practice squad rules and all that. And whenever people mention, and when we first started talking to you, we would talk about the 53-man roster, and you were like, whoa. 69-man roster. If you're here, you're going to have an opportunity to play. It felt like that game against Jacksonville was a perfect example of that, because guys that have been contributing to special teams are playing on defense. JRM's playing on linebacker. You have Neville playing linebacker. Jake's getting into the game at linebacker. But the only place you didn't rotate guys was on the offensive line, which you're not going to. But it's not that we doubted you, but if you're on this roster, 69-man, you're going to get on the field at some point, it seems. It felt like you got contributions from everybody. Is that the way you saw it on Sunday?
Yeah, and I think – and we've been pretty consistent from the beginning, even when kind of starting a program, last year. If we bring a player in the building, you're going to have an opportunity, and you're going to earn your opportunity. So, and at some point, we're going to need everybody. And part of your responsibility, regardless if you're on the roster or you're on the practice squad, is to prepare to play. So your job is to prepare to play. I would say, Mason was an example where, not this week, but the previous week, went through the whole week, really hadn't taken a rep. He'd take most of his reps on the look squad. At the end of the week, we had a situation where he had to play in a game. So he had to play against the Chargers when he hadn't practiced all week,
Yeah.
but because of some of the things that happened at the end of the week, from a health standpoint, that was the way that we had to go. So if he's not preparing the right way, if he doesn't have the right mindset, if he doesn't have the right approach, then he's not going to be able to go out there on a field, and we're going to have not going to have enough confidence to put him on the field. So to your question and to your point, everybody earns the opportunity to play, and everybody is going to have the opportunity to play, and you have to prepare for that opportunity to play because you really never know when that's going to take place. I'd say one of the things, probably the positive things that's come out of COVID, and I think the NFL has done a great job of recognizing this, is the expansion of the practice squad roster. So it's just giving you more roster flexibility. It gives more players more opportunities, and every team has to be judicious with how they use the practice squad. So we'll abide by the rules. We'll play within the rules, but we'll try to use them to our advantage and be smart and try to make the right decision for our team.
Nick, it feels like every game is a State of the Union address on where the team is at, where the organization is at. Maybe it's that way in the NFL anyway, but let's talk about the passing attack here, because not a high volume of yards, but you made the plays when you needed to make them. Better on third down. Some of that was on the ground too. Nico with not a 58-yarder this week, but with some big plays. Brandon as well. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's at a passing game. There were some chunk play opportunities, so we had some completions on P and 10 situations. Through the comeback to Nico, through the pop pass to Nico, and then the play on third down near the sideline. Was kind of a circus catch. But I would say, as a quarterback, and you see this all throughout the course of the league, you just want to give the receiver an opportunity to make a play on the ball, and depending on how the corner is positioned and the technique that he's using, it's one of two things that's probably going to happen. Your guy's going to catch it, or there's going to be a penalty or something's going to happen, unless the defensive back is kind of in phase and he's able to turn his head back and find the ball, which some are more skilled, more equipped to do that than others. So I would say the passing game's had its moments. Certainly can do a better job, in that area, and just trying to continue to find ways to maybe create some chunk opportunities, which helps shorten drives and move the ball down the field with less plays.
Nick, Mark and I had this conversation having to do with Damian, and it's about what Damian's doing, but it's a bigger conversation, and that is with Mark was talking about with Damian, like, oh, he's tackled. Oh, no, he's not. Oh, he's tackled. Oh, he's not. And he's keeping fighting through these tackles. As a player out on the field, when you have a running back like that, he has a propensity to break tackles like that. You have to adapt as a player knowing, hey, look, I can't just stay on this block 2-3 seconds. I got to be on this thing all the way because he might break this thing. Sort of like when in New England, when you got Moss, when Randy's running routes down the field, how long did it take for Tom to understand, okay, he doesn't look like he's open, but it's Randy Moss, so he's actually open. How long does it kind of take for other players to adjust when you have a player like that does some things that are different than what you're used to?
I think the more you play with somebody, you sort of learn to understand some of the nuances associated with that particular player. So I would say your goal offensively, if it's a running play or a passing play, is to finish. So the emphasis should be on finishing the play. So if you have to block the run force, you have to block the down safety, block him as long as you need to block him.
Right.
And you have to be, I would say, committed to doing that. So let's say a player like Moss, so you can't underestimate like his speed or whatever it is. So you may have to adjust the timing. So a lot of this is when you play with somebody for a longer period of time, you have a better understanding of the nuances and some of the things that they're capable of doing as a player. And each player is different. There's no one player that's the same. So part of the education of your teammates is understanding each other. So the offensive line, okay, that's the one group. Those five guys have to work cohesively on each play in order to have a successful play. So the communication usually goes from inside out. So it goes from the center to the guard, and you got to from the guard to the tackle. So that communication from the guard to the tackle, then the tackle to the tight end if it's a run play. So you're relying on the guy next to you and understanding, all right, here's kind of how he operates. Here are some of the things that he does well. Maybe you have to adjust or modify something on your end, but that's part of learning each other, and that's part of understanding how to play football with your teammates.
So you were coaching when Randy was there. So what is it like to coach a player?
You a good coach.
So to coach a player who's so good, his name is also a verb.
Players make coaches. Coaches don't make players.
But you're there to guide, and he's a really intelligent guy too. Yeah.
Yes. I have a great Moss anecdote in the story. So we knew he was going to help our team once we got through the spring and started training camp. So I want to say it was the first or second day of training camp, runs a post route, and he kind of pulls up with a little bit of a hamstring issue. So I mean, we're literally 2 days into training camp, so we don't see him until the opener against the Jets. So he's a couple days of training camp, and then until we play the Jets, we're like, all right, not really sure how this is going to go. So, and that was kind of, we had Randy, we had Dante Stallworth, we had Gaffney, we had Welker. So we were going to be more of an 11 personnel team. Maroney was back. So like we had a decent skill group. Tommy was a quarterback. So we get into, I want to say we were in like 13 personnel with Randy as a single receiver. And we call it a pistol route, basically, where Moss just runs down the field and he can freaking pretty much go anywhere. We hadn't run this play before at all. So put Moss on the field. They kind of played it the way that we thought we were going to play it. And, Randy gets going and, Tom just like launches the ball down the field. And we score a touchdown. And we all kind of look at each other like, holy cow. So
that worked.
Yeah. Randy is a skilled receiver. As probably as there is in, the history in NFL, very unique what he provided. But each player, again, has their own strengths, has their own weaknesses, and you just have to figure out how to play with that player and, how do you help each other ultimately is the most important thing.
Nick, after the game, I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you guys get this, but I'm holding in my hands. This is the game book. Omar gives these to us, and we obviously look back into things. It's a bunch of stats and stuff, and, they say stats are for nerds and losers, but I don't think that's quite the case. But when you grab this and when you get this game book, what's the first thing that you look at after the game? What's the first stat you want to see after the game?
I'll add one on top of that. Let's say you're looking at an old game that you don't remember or you didn't see, like something from the 90s and in 1996, the Broncos played whoever, and I want to see what happened. What would be the first thing you'd look at besides the score?
Yeah, everybody has a different process of what they go through.
Right.
It's kind of their post-game preparation or evaluation. So really, I'll look at the situational elements, just kind of third down, red area, turnovers, and penalties. Okay, what happened in those situations? And then you kind of fill in some of the other information. And then let's say field position is a big part of it. So drive start, factors in. So do we have control of the game? Do we, the drive start situation, how did that stack up? Not to transition to the kicking game a little bit, but when you kind of look at some of the things that we've done in the kicking game, so our opponent's drive start, or we're top of the league in terms of the opponent, us covering the kickoff. So like our kickoff team's done a great job, and it's been, I'd say, a number of different players. I'd say over the last couple of weeks, JRM has shown up. I'd say MJ has been as consistent as any special teams player in the league. He's done a great job for us as a personal protector, and I'd say. Agnew is a really good returner, and he's hard to tackle, and we gave him space on the first one, and, they got the block in the back on that, but then we had a couple tackles inside the 20. So anytime you can force the offense to start inside the 20, that's a good thing. So I'd say our coverage has been probably one of our strengths. Going back to your question, like drive start is a big part of it, and then some of the situational elements, how do we handle those? Because ultimately, those are probably going to be a big part in winning or losing the game.
All right, so it's bye week. What are you going to do other than watch film and study college players and that kind of thing? What do you got, Nick? What do you have on the agenda for the bye week?
Watch more film, watch our next 2 or 3 opponents. I think it's important for us to kind of understand our team and what are some of the things that we're doing well, what are some of the areas that we can identify and try to make some incremental improvements. And then if we make some incremental improvements, maybe it can help the overall performance. So I think really, like anything, just staying true to your process, stay consistent, and try to stay on schedule. We talked about this last week a little bit. So the next opponents kind of have played each other here a little bit, right? So Tennessee played Washington, so we're going to play both teams here over the next 4 to 6 weeks. So being able to go through that game here a little bit. So we obviously had the Vegas game from last night, Kansas City, but we've seen them multiple times. Saw them play against the Chargers, so we've seen them. So we're going to work on our preparation for Vegas. I'd say Philly's kind of a newer team or newer opponent. NFC East, so probably maybe have to spend a little more time on them. And they're one of the best teams in the league. They're the only undefeated team in the league. So I'd say these next 3 to 4 weeks, certainly going to present some challenges. So just trying to stay ahead in the preparation and then mix in some of the, I would say, college work. Probably been to a handful of games this year, seen some teams live, watched some players in the office, had some information come in relative to player evaluations from our scouts. So just try to keep the ball moving forward here a little bit and not fall behind in your preparation.
Next week will be our 1,000-foot view of the Raiders. But I feel like you could talk about all 32 teams in detail. 30,000-foot view of the Raiders. I know you've seen them. Thoughts about facing them in a couple weeks?
Yeah, a lot of respect and admiration for, I'd say, a lot of people in that building, in that program. I mean, arguably, two of my closest friends probably in the league are basically running a team. And they've got a lot of good people, a lot of good coaches, and they're a talented team. So, I mean, they're 1-4. I think their 4 losses have been 6 points or less. So, in some respects, I mean, some of their games have been similar to ours. I mean, so last night comes down to 4th and 1, and it's a 1-point game. Comes down to 2-point conversion against Tennessee. So the Chargers game's probably a 1 game. Kind of got away from them a little bit, and then they were able to make up some ground there early. In the Arizona game, I mean, Murray basically ran around like a video game and converted a 4th down, and then converted a 2-point conversion from outside of where you normally convert the 2-point conversion. So, but I mean, they're very talented offensively, a lot of good skill players. I mean, Crosby, is a menace. Like, I think that's the best way to describe it. This guy's a great football player. His story is incredible as well, kind of what he's had to deal with and the way he's persevered. But, I mean, just a lot of respect and appreciation, admiration for the people in that building. I think they're in good hands. And, it's a big challenge each week. And so we're going to have to prepare ourselves for the challenges that we face with their team and with their players.
Well, I threw passes with Derek Carr when he was in 6th grade here on these fields. So if you need a scouting report,
I knew it was a matter of time.
Sixth grade Derek Carr, I'm your guy. I know all about it, Nick.
It's a good place to start.
And one more thing. We do a segment every week called More Likely to Happen. So more likely to happen, you watching a family movie with the girls or sneaking off and watching a college game in your man cave.
Oh, that's not fair.
What?
I don't have a man cave, and we have a very open floor plan. So the way the office is situated, it's open. So it's if I'm with everybody, even if I'm in my office.
You could do both.
Watching the game.
That's the way to do it.
So I'm involved. Yeah, not a big family movie guy. So whatever Charlie wants to put on the television, we have like different viewing appetites. So, but whatever she wants, she gets. So that's my responsibility being dad.
All right, Nick. Have a great bye week. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to know when we post new content.